Chiefs offense is having issues. Short yardage, deep passes. The Chiefs continue to be a work in progress. And yet, the 5-1 record they share with 4 other teams is best in the NFL, as the Chiefs play host to the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday at Arrowhead. On today's Sports Beat KC, the Star's sports podcast, columnists Vahe Gregorian and Sam McDowell talk all things Chiefs with me, Blair Kirchhoff. We chat about what's working and what's not, and how things could shape up over the next few weeks. One bright note, defensive lineman Charles Omenihu returns to the team this week after serving a 6-game suspension. Okay, let's talk Chiefs with Vahe and Sam. We have completed what I call the Thursday portion of the Chiefs schedule, and now we're going to begin the Monday portion of the Chiefs schedule. You know, they've got 3 Monday games the rest of the regular season. One's a Monday night game against the Eagles. Then there's the Monday afternoon game on Christmas Day, against the Raiders. And then the next week they play on Monday as well. So I guess this is the price you pay for being a good team.
They are, do they have the most prime of prime times all through the season?
I think they max out. I think the NFL maxes out at per team, prime time, and the Chiefs have moved around on the schedule as much as a team can be moved around. They had the noon Central Time kickoff at Jacksonville, and that's the only noon Sunday kickoff they have on a Sunday all year, because that noon game against the Raiders is on Christmas Day on a Monday. So, oh well.
Are you happy to move into the Monday phase?
I thought it was weird. How did you spend your Sunday?
Did watch a fair amount of NFL. I happened to see the only 2 remaining undefeated teams lose. That was interesting. But a lot of honeydews.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was Sam McDowell's case or not.
Yeah, I watched a lot of NFL. That's always the best part about when the Chiefs play on non-Sundays, is you get to watch the rest of the league. I think we all probably deal with this, but my friends always ask me a lot about the NFL. I always say, you probably watch more NFL games than we do. We're at one game every week, right? So it's kind of hard to watch the rest of the games other than the prime time Monday and Thursday night games, but it's an exception when the Chiefs are one of those prime time games.
Absolutely. Coming off the 19-8 victory over the Denver Broncos, and they have the LA Chargers coming up Sunday. In that Denver game, the Chiefs went 1 for 5 on touchdowns in the red zone. And Sam, I know you wrote about it. It took an interesting angle. The headline was really well done, I thought, on Patrick Mahomes can't do anything about the part of the problem if the ball's not in his hands, is the proviso here. So, go into that idea and how the Chiefs came about plunging to a 1 for 5 on touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah, they're just really bad on short yardage still. The same storyline as a year ago. They're 22nd in the league over the last couple of years on 3rd or 4th and 1 or 2 to go. And they're first in all other situations by a really wide margin on 3rd downs. 4% better than anybody in the league on 3rd downs, but they're really bad when it gets to short yardage. That's not going to surprise anybody that's seen a lot of the Chiefs games. And so then you start to delve into why. And I think a lot of people, when we saw the fake field goal, I think we all probably reacted the same way on the 4th down where it's 4th and 2. They try a Noah Gray sneak. And so the phrase we just so often hear is that they got too cute. The problem to me is, the play call is an issue, but I think we all focus on the play call when the play call is trying to mask the other issue, which is they haven't figured out any solution on short yardage. A lot of teams sneak the ball. That is out of the Chiefs playbook since 2019. So a lot of teams run the ball. Across the league, 4th and short is converted on running plays 36% more often than passing plays. So right there, the data is telling you don't use your quarterback. Instead, use your running game. The Chiefs' running game has not been successful on 3rd and short or 4th. I know a lot of people think, hey, just run it right up the middle. That has not been successful. So the other alternative I hear a lot is, hey, use your normal offense. Just run your normal offense is really good. Why not just run your normal offense? We just said they convert better than anyone else on 3rd down when they use their normal. It's because they have to use their normal offense, right? But even Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hand is only 2% better on these 3rd downs than all other cases when the Chiefs don't use Patrick Mahomes. And so that's why, Blair, you mentioned the headline. To me, it's like, this is the one area where your quarterback isn't really supposed to be your solution. And the Chiefs do have this unicorn quarterback, but you're going to have to rely on, like, your interior linemen, your running game. And again, it's why they feel like they have to get cute. And to me, that's more emblematic of the problem than the fact that they're willing to get cute. Andy Reid, he might not admit it to us in a press conference, but I think he feels like, I've got to do something tricky here to pick up just 1 or 2 yards on third down at a decent rate.
I'm thinking about all the points you made on each of these things. Do you have what would your solution be?
I think Patrick Mahomes is perfectly willing to sneak the ball. It's a very fluke injury. I think that's got to be part of the playbook. And to be clear, I actually think we could see a situation where the Chiefs are third, fourth, and short in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. We might see a quarterback sneak because I think they anticipate it would take a defense by shock.
Well, he told us he'd call it on his own if he had to in that situation.
I also just think, their interior line is something we've talked a lot about because Joe Thuney makes a lot of money. Creed Humphrey's known as one of the best centers in the game, and Trey Smith, the right guard, had a really good rookie year. Creed Humphrey hasn't been as good this year. Trey Smith has really not been as good this year. Joe Thuney's still Joe Thuney. But they've got to get better push on the interior line, too, because it's the whole reason why the tush push works for the Eagles and nobody else. Jason Kelsey just executes it better. Like, you got to rely on your center and your interior linemen to execute those plays. But the main part of your question is I don't really think there's an obvious solution. And what I tried to do in that column that Blair mentioned was point out that the solutions that, I think a lot of the public anticipates being solutions are really only very marginal differences than what the Chiefs are. Because the Chiefs are at 62% now. And their normal third down percentage is much less than 62%. It's like 51, which is historically good. But so you say, okay, run the normal offense. Well, when Patrick Mahomes throws the ball, they're at like 64% instead of 62. So it's better. I mean, yes, the quarterback should always be involved because you always want the defense to anticipate that there's a threat of that, which is why I don't like the Noah Gray fake field goal. You're telling the defense this is what we're going to run before the play starts. But you look at the Kadarius Toney play, for example, that they don't convert a 3rd and 1. That play's open. It's not executed by Kadarius Toney, but that is part of the play call, right? Can my players execute this? I'm asking a wide receiver to play quarterback. But again, all of these things that we keep coming back to is Andy Reid saying, I can't convert 3rd and 1 unless I trick the defense on this play.
I love that you brought up the point about it being a fluke injury on Patrick, right? That is there, but you're making me think of something I never thought of before, and sorry to belabor the point, but the art of the quarterback sneak, how much is it the guy doing it, and how much is it that you have it as the element of surprise? In other words, does Patrick have any superior skill in quarterback sneaking over 6 other guys they could put in that spot? And the point is just the surprise?
Yeah. He for sure has some of it. I don't think the surprise is part of quarterback sneak at all. And that's actually the antithesis of the way other teams are converting 3rd and short down is, like, they don't have to surprise the defense. We all know when we watch the Eagles line up what's coming next, and they still execute it. So, the way I phrase it.
With a special flair, on their parts, yeah.
We do, but we all know what the exact play
what's coming. Yeah.
And the way I phrased it in the column was like, that's the ugliest play in football probably, and they executed at a really high level. The Chiefs have taken the ugly play out of their playbook, which is why we continue to see what we call cute plays instead, because they have to do something that's unexpected as everyone else is executing a lot of plays. And look, it's down this year. There's a lot of teams that are not converting on quarterback sneaks this year. I do think defenses are getting better at it, but when you run that cute stuff, I do think it would be more effective if the quarterback sneak was in play for the defense. You see when you don't only see the Eagles and you know what's coming. You see that the defense knows what's coming, but the way they line up as well. I think we're all waiting on the Eagles to run a trick play off of this push as well, and that trick play would work. Has a considerably higher chance of being successful because of what the defense is doing against it.
Yeah,
we were reminded in the this week's Monday Night Football game when the Cowboys attempted the Eagles tush push. or brotherly shove, the nickname I like for it, and came up short on it. They lined up exactly the way the Eagles did, and try to get Dak his yard, and he couldn't do it, and got stood up.
Anybody who has been arguing to ban that play is losing the argument based on the fact that the rest of the teams cannot execute.
That's right.
Like, the Eagles had to love the fact that no one else can execute, and they said, well, you can't take it away from us just because we're the ones that are executing the hell out of this play right now.
That's a great point.
So, just interesting sidebar here. On Saturday afternoon, I'm at a gym where you have multiple TVs up on the wall, and on one screen is Temple playing North Texas. Temple is in Philadelphia. Temple now tries the tush push.
Did it
successfully?
Work?
Yes, it did. On the screen next to him was the World Rugby Championship, and that's exactly what those. That's exactly. I'm going back and forth. And that's what it is. It's a rugby scrum.
It is a rugby scrum. Absolutely.
Also, in addition to not picking up short yardage, and this is related, Chiefs scoring numbers are down this year, right? They're averaging 24, I've got it written down here, 24.6, I think, 24.5 points per game. That's ninth in the NFL. Their yards per game is fourth. So top 10 offense, but not what we're used to seeing with Patrick Mahomes. I also plugged in 2 additional touchdowns if they had not taken a knee at the end of Jacksonville and at the end of Jets, right? They would be averaging more than 27.2 points a game, and all of a sudden it doesn't look so bad, does it? I don't know where that would put them in the NFL, but it's higher than 9th, I suspect. So it was 19-8 versus the Broncos. I know after the game we talked about when was the last time they were held under 20 in a victory at home, and I still haven't looked it up. But I suspect it hasn't happened in the Mahomes era.
Well, that Cowboys game, right?
Yes, that's right.
20,
it was
21,
19-9 or something like that. And the Packers game was 13-3 when they were in that stretch of not having good offense.
But it was not without Patrick playing, though, right?
Well, no, Patrick played in those games.
They beat the Packers 13-7 in Week 9 in 2021. Then 2 weeks later was that 19-9 against the Cowboys. I think it's the Cowboys game.
I wonder if we were putting the offense under a microscope then. Maybe.
They didn't. They only scored under 20 once all last year. And it was the game they lost in Indianapolis, 20-17, where anything that could go wrong in that game went wrong.
So are we of a mind that this will improve with, as wide receivers get more comfortable with Patrick Mahomes and he gets more comfortable with his wide receivers? Is that the main issue here? Is it the passing game? Is it the
only thing I'd throw in real quick is just your point about the caveat, which I get in a way is sort of an exotic point, right? It's different than the numbers they have, but those were just circumstantial game situations. They made command decisions that the best way to win the game or the game is sealed. We're doing this. So I don't know if in our case study here, if we want to incorporate those numbers in there and say that's part of the context, just because it was part of what they did, and maybe there is also a connection to understanding how well the defense is playing in terms of what they're doing in running clock and in the fourth quarter, things like that. I'm getting away from your question, I guess, but I guess I just want to throw that out there. You brought it up, and I agree with you that it does feel and look different if we just decided they would have scored those points if they wanted to.
And certainly could have and would have, in fact, I think they probably should have tried to score at the end of the Jacksonville game. I'm not sure about Patrick Mahomes made the right decision with the Jets. Ended the game basically with that slide. So
a touchdown would have ended the game too, though, right?
Yeah,
it would have.
That's the thing about that.
But there were 2 minutes to go when he slid. I mean, that was the first play, I think, after the 2-minute warning, and 2 minutes can be an eternity. Even with a 10-point lead, can be an eternity in the NFL. Jets get one long play, kick a field goal, and now they've got a minute to go, get an onside kick. I don't know.
The higher percentage way to end the game is to do what he did.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that analytically,
Oh, yeah,
Sam?
it's 100%. Yeah, game's
but
over, yeah.
you could have effectively ended the game with a touchdown too, I suppose. But yeah. So, but anyway, you're really asking is, can they get better offensively?
Yeah, and is it just a matter of the wide receivers getting more comfortable with? It seems like we talk about it every week, right?
Yeah.
And but is that what's keeping this offense from scoring more points?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's number one for sure. And it is reason to believe that the Chiefs should be better in Week 18 than Week 6 is because a lot of the problems you're seeing are just like reading coverages from wide receivers. Look, I think it's pretty evident that Rashee Rice is better than he was in the opener. I really think he's going to be a player. I'm less convinced that Sky Moore is going to take a jump because he's been in this offense for 25 games now. And I kind of think this might be who Sky Moore is. He has trouble separating when you watch him on film. Not the line of scrimmage. Idley's pretty good at the line of scrimmage. But in the secondary, he has trouble separating.
See,
Justin
a quick
Watson's
aside
out.
about him, real quick. Last year, I think I remember you telling me this. You looked at the metrics. He was the guy getting most open, most.
He was,
mostest.
yeah.
So what's the difference?
Well, they're using him in a different role now. I mean, they're trying to replace Juju Smith-Schuster at the X position with Sky Moore, and I frankly think he's better closer to the line than he is playing outside the numbers. And so, I don't know. Maybe Rashee Rice is playing a lot of slot. Maybe they decide that those two skill sets can be flipped, but I think the goal right now is to gradually add to Rashee Rice's plate rather than just have him make wholesale changes. So this might be what the Chiefs mostly are as far as where they line guys up. But I do think they'll be better. But there's two really weird areas that the Chiefs are not good at. We mentioned the short yardage, and they're really bad 20 yards and beyond in the deep passing game. So they're dominating right now on the short and intermediate stuff. Behind the line of scrimmage, they're really good at. Jesse, who's not here with us, has analyzed their behind the line of scrimmage stuff last year. But Patrick Mahomes is the second worst rated quarterback on passes over 20 yards this year in the entire NFL. And there's 38 that qualify in that stat. And who would guess that Patrick Mahomes is the second worst at anything, especially throwing the ball deep?
Does that include his passer rating?
Right. Second worst passer rate in the league. He's the third worst graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus. And look, Justin, the only one they threw over 20 yards last week was to Justin Watson that he gets hurt. And the reason he gets hurt is because he drops the ball.
Yeah.
That's not on Patrick Mahomes. But that's the only drop they've had all year on those. He's thrown 3 interceptions that are his fault.
And
he misplays in Minnesota.
Right, and I can think of the two of the balls that Watson has caught that were deep balls. He made sensational catches on.
You're right.
One on the sideline, and then the one in Minnesota where
you're right.
He was falling. Mahomes was falling backwards. So they're almost, I don't want to say lucky plays, but it took a lot of skill.
Those are 2 of their 8 conversions that you just mentioned. Those 2 plays in Minnesota where he tiptoes on the sideline and jumps over the guy. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 of their only 8 completions on passes beyond 20 yards in 6 weeks for the Chiefs offense. Last week, I actually thought, when you look at a per play basis, the Chiefs were not that bad offensively last week. And I actually thought it was because they didn't throw deep. They just decided, well, we're just going to throw underneath. And we talked a lot about that in 2021 with the way teams were defending them. I also think, just to put a bow on this, the last thing that I find really interesting is Andy Reid continues to tell us that their offense is gaining a lot of yards. And it's almost like he knows this narrative is out there that the offense isn't performing well, and he wants to tell us, no, look at the yardage. The yardage isn't that bad. Look at the Jacksonville yardage. Look at last weekend's Denver. The Jets, almost 400 yards. I think it was 399, wasn't it? It was almost 400 yards in those games. And you wonder how much he's pumping up his own guys. It's no, everything's going on track. We'll get there. This is the expected path that this was going to be on with some new guys. You're putting up a lot of yardage, the points will come with it.
Sam, your point about the deeper passes, and I wonder if either of you guys see anything mechanically in Patrick, or if it's simply the plays aren't there.
I don't think there's separation. I don't think the Chiefs are getting separation down the field.
No, teams are still taking that away from them for sure. I mean, teams are playing deep safeties against the Chiefs. And that's why, again, I thought last week was one of their better offensive games because Patrick Mahomes just said, fine, we'll just beat you underneath.
Yeah.
And they only threw once deep. I think that's the reason that play was open, though, is because that was the first time all game the Chiefs had tried something deep, and the ball just gets dropped. But I will say the drop pass is not typically the reason that this has been going this way. As I mentioned, I mean, grade-wise, and I know what people think about Pro Football Focus grades, but he's also the third worst graded quarterback at these throws. Like, he's not executing these plays either.
Just to circle back to Sky Moore, I wish, and this isn't part of an Andy Reid type offense, but I wish he would become a possession receiver, a Julian Edelman, Wes Welker type of guy who, just you throw it out to him in the flat and let him, break a tackle and get 8 yards on first down. I just don't see him as, I don't see him as a deep threat at all, and it's just hard to. I just haven't seen enough evidence that he can't play the X. He can't be that guy.
I think, because, Juju, when he played the X, was not that deep guy either. It was more slants and things of that nature.
Deep posts.
And, yeah. It's like 10, it's 8 to 10 yard route type stuff. But because he does get off the line of scrimmage well, and that's a huge component of running those short routes. But I just think he'd be more effective possibly closer to the line of scrimmage than he would be running out, because cornerbacks on the outside have time to catch up, and you see cornerbacks catching up to his routes.
Okay, so this disastrous Chiefs offense, which ranks in the top 10 in the NFL, has held the team back. They're only 5-1 and share the best record in the NFL with the Eagles, the Lions, the 49ers, and the Miami Dolphins. I looked it up a year ago at this juncture. The Chiefs were 4-2, not 5-1, and 4 teams had a better record than the Chiefs. So obviously, season coming apart at the seams for this Chiefs team.
What's interesting though about those teams is they've already lost to one, and they still play two.
That's right. Yep, still have the Dolphins and the Eagles. So I mentioned this to Sam Vahe before we started recording. Did you know that, speaking of offense, that there are, at least through, week 7, we're approaching week 7 of the NFL season, scoring per game, points per game, yards per game, lowest levels in like 15 years in the NFL. Sam had a theory on this, and I hadn't given it much thought. You don't think the quarterback play
I
has
think
been
the
good?
Quarterback play has been really bad in the NFL this year. And part of that can be the way offensive coordinators or a lot of times head coaches scheme stuff. But, man, there's been twice where we've been allowed to watch all the games because of the way the Chiefs scheduled opening week and this last week. And both weeks, what stood out to me most was just bad quarterback play across the league.
Heck, like on the Monday night game, 2 good quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott, going at each other. And, I kept telling myself, this defense is really good. Both teams playing great defense. Chargers coming into Arrowhead with their good defense. But I've seen both of those quarterbacks play better.
And look, Herbert, there were at least, I saw the one, I missed the other, but there was a reference on the broadcast last night to him just missing Keenan Allen wide open twice. I saw the second one. He was wide open.
Yeah, it was stunning how overthrown that ball was.
Yeah, and then he came back, I think a play later with a nice completion, but that it was totally behind. I can't remember who the receiver was. So it even his a really nice completion was not a good pass. So, maybe the point holds some water. We'll see more and more as we go on.
You're missing, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are long been 2 of the best 5 quarterbacks in the game, and one retired and one's out of the league right now, not playing.
Joe Burrow got off to had the injury in the preseason. Deshaun
Also
Watson's
top 5
working his way back. Lamar Jackson. He's got the Ravens at 4-2, and they're looking okay. But you're right. They're
4 teams are playing rookies too. 4 teams came into the season saying we're playing our rookies to start the season, and really C.J. Stroud's the only one that hasn't looked like a rookie playing in the NFL for the first time.
Right. And kudos to Brock Purdy for the start that he's had this year. didn't win more than 6 games in the season at Iowa State. I think that's the stat. And just like Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, had that kind of year. Good year for Harrison Butker to be having the accuracy that he's displaying. He hasn't missed a kick this year. I think it's 14 field goals and 15 extra points. You kind of want that ratio to be a little more separation between extra points and field goals. You don't want one year. I remember he had like 69 extra points and 25 field goals. That's what I think it was that 2018 season where Chiefs scored touchdowns on every possession.
Well, also along the lines of what you were comparing points from last year. I mean, remember he was still coming out of that injury,
right,
and even seemingly recovered was not. And there were blips in his game for sure. So they've got that sealed up. And one thought just real quick too is that I don't know what we can expect from the defense from here. They've got the schedule is going to be more challenging for the defense, but really, if you crunch the numbers, this is the oddity. I mean, the defense itself has allowed the fewest points in the NFL. That's taken away 9 points for a safety and the pick 6 by Detroit. But that's markedly better than what we've seen in the early seasons under Steve Spagnuolo.
Butker is 6th in the NFL in points this year. There's 7 non-kickers in the top 30. Because, kickers are automatic points. 3 of those non-kickers are on the Dolphins. So Mostert leads the NFL in points. Tyreek Hill is 28th in points. And Ichain, who's hurt now, is 19th in points. Just shows you how – and, the Dolphins are – reporters in Miami are having the opposite discussions that we're having about the Dolphins offense. They're at 8 yards per play this year. They have a bigger gap between 1 and 2, which I think 2 is the Bills, than the gap between 2 and 32. And I will say, though, because, the Dolphins I think are going to come up a lot in our later podcast conversations about.
Yes, it will.
We're going to be covering a game against the Dolphins, Chiefs against the Dolphins, and then I think later in the season we're going to be talking about the Dolphins too. They're a team that could be in the hunt for the number 1 seed. That game, I think, will go a long way to determining that. So you're going to analyze, I think, a lot of where are the Dolphins really. And we had this conversation last year with the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Where's their defense really? Because their schedule showed when they played a good team, they gave up a lot of points. They played a lot of not great teams. That's what's going on with the Dolphins right now offensively. Is they played the Panthers, they played the Broncos, they played a lot of bad teams right now, and then they played the Bills and they got smacked. And so, interested to see what the Dolphins do moving forward. And just, I know this was initially Harrison Butker, but it just reminds me of points in general. When you see, we're talking about the league as a whole being down, and then what the Dolphins are doing is just totally contrasting what the rest of the league's doing.
See, I'm just thinking about the dynamics of the Chiefs. I would gather Kelsey would be, does he have 5 touchdowns, 4 or 5? Would Kelsey be the next?
I think he only has 3.
Leading scorer? Maybe 3.
I think he only has 3.
But is there any other Chief in the top 30?
No.
So that's kind of interesting in itself, right?
Pacheco and Kelsey have 3 touchdowns.
3
They're
each.
55th in the league with 18.
But Vahe, I'm glad you transitioned to defense. We certainly that side of the ball deserves more conversation than what we're giving him today. But this is the week where Charles Omenihu is back with the Chiefs, and I think Andy Reid suggested earlier this week that we can see him on the field against the Chargers on Sunday. My question is, will we see Frank Clark in a Chiefs uniform this year, or should we see Frank Clark in a Chiefs uniform?
I've been trying to think about what the downside to this would be, and other than a roster position that maybe they don't want to give up, I find it appealing to think of him late season in a Chiefs uniform. But I know Sam, like always, has thought this out further than I have. What do you got?
I don't think Frank Clark has much to give, but if he's willing to take a practice squad deal, sure. I think he's well liked in that locker room for sure.
No doubt.
We know he's 95's best friend in that locker room.
That's no small thing.
Yeah, it's not. And, Karlaftis, I think he kind of took Karlaftis under his wing a little bit last year.
Could do the same with Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
Yeah, so that kind of value.
Whose playing time, by the way,
way down.
Way down.
Diminished, yeah.
Yep.
And it will be further with Omenihu coming back.
Right.
In fact, that's another storyline we haven't really talked about. But as much as the Chiefs got contributions from rookies last year, they had the 6th fewest snaps among rookies this year. And I think we all said frequently last year, like, hey, this is an anomaly. The Chiefs can't expect to have this happen all the time. And this year already, it's shown it. So, but the problem with Frank Clark is you're already going to create a roster spot for Omenihu and maybe Dickerson, but you're already going to have to get a spot somewhere. I don't know that you have 2 defensive line spots to create for Frank Clark. And I do think the Chiefs are interested. Like, I think the Chiefs are interested, but I wonder if maybe they wait to see if Frank Clark gets another actual offer, and if he doesn't, maybe the practice squad in Kansas City is the best home for him.
I like that idea. I like the practice squad because yes, you love to have the depth at the position, but what the Chiefs have done in the first 6 games without Omenihu is pretty admirable.
It is,
and and so I think they'll only get better because of him. Who, by the way, Omenihu can play inside as well as outside, and he can really give Steve Spagnuolo that NASCAR package, if that's what he still wants to call it. But having basically 4 defensive ends line up and get to the quarterback, I love that idea with him. But right, Frank Clark would take someone's spot. Who, are we talking about Malik Herring, who I think had some nice contributions this year?
Malik had a great play against Denver to stop a 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Something to pay attention to this week and as we go forward with the Chiefs. So, also, pay attention to the Kansas City Star and kansascity.com because that's where you can read Sam McDowell, Vahe Gregorian, and Jesse Newell. So, guys, thanks for the conversation, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks,
Claire.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to Randy Mason for producing this episode and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Monty Davis, Todd Feedback, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to star columnists Sam McDowell and Vahe Gregorian for sharing their insights. Have you checked out Morning Sports Edition? You got to do it. It's the best digital sports page in America. Chiefs, college sports, Royals, Sporting KC, The Current, plus loads of national and international sports news. Check it out at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in and around Kansas City.